I think some of the barriers that hinder the Hispanic community, first of all, is accessibility. Accessibility on a couple fronts. One, the vaccine, having the vaccine available. But second of all, for elderly parishioners not having accessibility because they don't have the internet at home, they don't have computers at home, or they just don't have the information about availability of the shots, where to get the shots, how to sign up for the shots. And of course, it hasn't been the easiest for people who have been able to call the phone numbers to get on the list. For some of the elderly, especially the elderly, it can be difficult in terms of transportation to get the shots. Some of the elderly are homebound and aren't able to get out. So accessibility can be something that is difficult on several fronts. We are an underserved community, and the effects of health, our health effects upon us many times are very prevalent because we don't have accessibility to health care, and many times the communities that we live in go forgotten. This is an opportunity, brothers and sisters. The vaccination is free. And we know from the pandemic the disparity that exists in healthcare. I have seen individuals in the intensive care unit, and I've gone in to anoint them, and I have seen the effects of it in terms of parishioners and others in the larger community who have died. It is real. It is very painful to be with families whose family member has suffered and died from COVID-19. It's very painful because they cannot gather, they cannot celebrate, they cannot embrace, they cannot do some of the things that they would normally do if COVID-19 was not around. If I was to look to the Bible for one thing, I think it would be Jesus' great command to love one another. I think taking the shot is a sign of love. First of all, love of self. I think that's important. You need to care for yourself. You need to care for yourself. And in taking the shot, it is a sign of your love and support of one another. Your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, your family members, your extended family members. And it is a sign of love for your community in your parishes, and it is a sign of love for the larger community. I think we owe this to one another in order to get beyond this pandemic, to get enough people vaccinated that we can make real headway in bringing this pandemic to an end. You know, we're all uncomfortable about doing certain things in our lives at certain times. But this is one time we have seen, we've never been through a pandemic in our lifetime, and we see the effect that it has on our spiritual lives and not being able to go to church, on our community life and not being able to gather for family celebrations and parties, and not being able to have our weddings and quinceaños and the many things that we celebrate as a community we're not able to do. We see the financial difficulty. We see the effects of isolation on our elderly. We know what it's like. We long to hug. We long to be in community. We long to celebrate. And we can't do that. It is a small price to pay, brothers and sisters, for us to, in some ways, be able to move past and to move to the way we're going to be living our lives in the future. But we know what we miss right now. A shot, a vaccination is a small price to pay. A small price to pay for ourselves and for our brothers and sisters.